but he wasn't scheduled to be on 5 Wide. I think he had a conference call, Tim, or something you had to go
I'm
attend
always
to.
on conference calls, Abe.
I know that's your whole life. I drag you back in studio for a quick pop, and then you are dismissed. I need you to explain bowl practices to our audience, which you explained to us in the break, which was actually new for me. I'd never heard of this.
Well, what you do for bowl practices, there's about, I don't know, Butchie, what is it, 5 to 6 weeks between the end of the season and when you go to a bowl game. So typically in college football, what they do, the bowl practices are really, really critical when it comes to building next year's team. And what they do is they do a lot of, I don't know if I want to say this because we just talked about Northwestern a few minutes ago, but
oh boy,
they do a lot of experimentation. Okay,
different.
Moving on the field.
On the field,
the depth guys, the third stringers, the fourth stringers, those kind of guys, they project in a few years. They coach them up. And the guys who are the starters, they sit, they rest their bodies preparing for the bowl game.
Interesting.
So what happens, like Wisconsin has done this for years, and one of the most legendary guys that came out of bowl practices was a tight end named Owen Daniels. Owen Daniels was a Badger quarterback, big guy. And they said, you know what, let's just throw him in at tight end during these bowl practices because he wasn't playing at all. And they went, wow, this guy's big, he's athletic, he's got great hands. The next season, they moved him to tight end, and then he ended up being in the NFL for, I think, 5-10 years, something like that.
Good
tight end,
career.
Yeah, great career.
Well, remember, J.J. Watt was a tight end.
They did this with Joe Thomas. Remember all the injuries that they had, so they moved him to defensive end, and that's when he tore his ACL.
I was at that game when it happened. Yeah,
not good.
I was in the locker room with him, and everybody else happened. Yeah, it was sad.
Whoa. They weren't sure Joe Thomas, who's going straight to Canton, was going to be a good offensive tackle, and they said, why don't you try defense?
They had so many injuries, he volunteered. He said, you know what, I'll take some snaps of defense.
I volunteered tribute.
He volunteered, and then he ended up blowing out his knee.
Yeah. Hall of Famer, but but that's why Joe fits what it is. Like, he's like, there were so many injuries that happened. I remember this because I was in school during it. And all of a sudden, he's playing defensive end because there were so many injuries, but it was a bowl game. And sure enough, like, the great Joe Thomas started as a freshman, all 12 games, left tackle, right, tears the ACL because it's just a bowl. But that's what they've done. They shifted guys around. They did things. It's a crazy story when you look into it.
Yeah, that is the best analogy then, Red Hot, for what we're doing these next 2 days.
Well, either that or when we all forget, and it's in the open of the show that follows us every day, when John Kuhn almost played quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, you got to stay ready.
Yeah, he was the emergency quarterback.
Joe Thomas did this when he was a freshman, tore his knee out when he was a freshman.
Freshman or sophomore, I can't remember. It was
could you imagine his junior year had he said, I'll do this, coach? No.
Sophomore year.
Well, that's when Bo had Butch play guard and handle the ball, point guard. You guys don't remember those days?
Do you think he ever let me do that for crying out? I would have loved it, man. I would have been Magic Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have. I would have been more.
Earlier today, Butchie, we solicited, why is Kuhn here today? Wrong answers only.
Oh, gosh, I love this.
The imagination was pretty damn funny. Restraining order on Armin just kicked in.
True.
Was one of them.
True that.
Dues at Green Bay Country Club have jumped up. He needs some extra shifts. I said new policy, Tim, that all of us hosts just had to get our 3 hours of radio in, but we could do it at any time we want. So guys would be flying into different day parts unannounced.
Yeah, Heller just checked in. He wants to sit in tomorrow. He found somebody to play ball with him, so he wants to
positionless. Hey, the NBA's positionless basketball.
Positionless.
Radio.
Absolutely. I'm hosting the 2 a.m. tonight, so if you guys want to stay up with me, yeah, it's going to be great. Right. We're talking high school volleyball.
I didn't know we had a 2 a.m.
We do now.
We do now.
Live board, live assist.
Yeah, I'm going to join him for traffic updates. Yeah.
It's going to be Armin and Pipe Bomb. That's what it's going to be tonight.
Oh, man.
2 to 4 a.m.
No, they did this to me in the high school volleyball playoffs when I was on varsity. But our whole varsity was a lot better than me. I was a junior. We had a bunch of seniors.
Can you hand me some popcorn when you tell this story?
We're going to ship the practices around this week, and I was with the JV practice. Lo and behold, they just weren't getting enough, good competition and practice to get ready for the playoffs when I was a junior, apparently.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for that story.
Tim, you go back to your conference call, my friend. Thank you for that. Perfect analogy. Everybody. He is out. Meanwhile, Butchie, this Northwestern thing is now a freight train running downhill without brakes. The baseball program is under scrutiny. I've yet to even read up on this. I saw it briefly, but I was like, I'll deal with this later.
Yep.
What the hell's going on there?
Well, there's a lot of allegations yet again when it comes to that. And it for me, like this is now you've got a new president in play, right? Main thing with baseball is it's the abuse of bullying and abusive behavior from the coach. Okay. But actually supposedly knows of it. And is the one doing it, right? With Pat Fitzgerald, that wasn't the case. He wasn't supposedly didn't know about it, but wasn't the one doing it. Now, this is the thing that is so interesting to me about this, because we're in a world of college sports where Bobby Huggins at West Virginia is now suing West Virginia, right? Even though he put we've got this, we're like the face of Northwestern football. And I understand the allegations that are out there of what this is, a couple of former players, and now you're trying to gather all this information, and it got steam. That's the thing with this, Abe, right? It got steam. The university said 2 weeks is what it is. We've heard from more people, and now they've changed their course. I'm so torn on it, right? Because it's 2023. And everything that I've heard about Fitzgerald and what he's done to run a program, it's done the right way. But you can't have this be part of your program in 2023. I mean, there's always been hazing, but you can't have it anymore. I'm curious on your take on it. I'm curious on Kuhn's take on it, because in sports, there's always been hazing, but there can't be anymore based on where we're at.
My take is simple. The truth is hazy, and you have to to me, I would prefer people take the totality of a person's resume and character into consideration at all times. And that this one size fits all, let's just fire him and that'll make it go away, is the dumbest thing ever. They spent 6 months on an investigation, agreed on 2 weeks. They both signed off on it. Then all of a sudden, because of media pressure, they're like, wait, never mind. There's one more allegation. So you're out. It's crazy. They're going to have to pay him a good chunk of that 42, 46 million he's owed. I'm pretty sure they were going to have to pay their entire staff, but then they decided, the staff is going to stay. So literally you're confirming he was just a fall guy. Somebody just had to get off with his head, which doesn't sound like justice to me. That's my take. Kuhn, what's your take?
Well, I'm not as torn on it as Butchie is. We'll find out more as the details come out. But if there were some of these grotesque things going on for the last 4 years worth of grotesque things is what's being accused out there. If that is true, then yeah, even if he didn't, know about it with quotation marks, even if he didn't know about it, I'm a little bit different on some hazing is okay. Carry my pads for me, rookies and freshmen. Yeah. Carry my pads and, get me water bottles and make sure this shelf is stocked and let's do a rookie or a freshman show. That stuff is fine. I think a little bit of hazing is good, right? Because hazing has a very bad sound to it, but that's what it is. It's a little bit of hazing. It's a little bit of earning your stripes. But when you talk about stripping them, but when
Des Bryant wouldn't carry someone's shoulder pads.
You refuse to do that.
Yeah. Okay. And that creates some really weird dynamics, and you got to break through that whole system. But when you talk about stripping down naked, things getting inserted, I mean, that's where the line is drawn. And somebody has to fall for that. Somebody does.
So you're all right having fall guys.
There's always a fall guy.
I don't think he's a fall guy. I don't think he's
also get flushed.
I don't think he's a fall
had
guy.
to know even more about it than
that's
Fitzgerald.
The point. If you're okay
the
with the
frontline
fall
guys, but they're
the
not
ones
firing
that the guys
them.
go to.
They're not firing because they can't afford to. Because they're going to be out $70 million probably when it's all said and done. Lawyers, buyout of Fitzgerald, maybe an assistant coach or two.
When he took 2 weeks, you knew this. When he took 2 weeks, when they agreed on 2 weeks, you knew this was coming. You knew it was coming. Why give him 2 weeks? If he did nothing wrong in your eyes, why give him 2 weeks?
They thought it would stick. They thought it would hold.
It's like what Brett said. Take 2 weeks off, then quit.
No. So you're trying to tell me that they thought something. You're trying to tell me you think that Northwestern thought he did a little bit of wrong. He had a little bit of culpability in this, and yet we're just going to give him 2 weeks. If he had any culpability in this, if he had any responsibility in this, he's the head man. He's the head man.
There has to be some medium degrees of punishment between no punishment and you're fired. Doesn't there? Shouldn't there?
Depending on the
and Jay,
transgression.
this is the thing. You hit it.
I don't think with this type of hazing you have middle ground.
Oh.
Some
But then how does
transgressions, there's no
everybody-
middle
how,
ground.
How does everybody stick on then? That's my thing. As players, you go to your position coaches, or in the basketball court, you go to your assistant coaches, and that's who you tell.
First,
You don't walk in. You think I'm walking into Bo's office and say, "Hey, Bo, this is what was going on in the locker room"? Absolutely not. I would never tell the head coach what was going on.
But the
You
assistants
tell
are
your
close to the players.
assistants, absolutely. If you're going to tell anybody,
So it's their job to
you
know.
tell your assistants.
Yeah.
So
and
the,
I'm
the
also-
fall guy here being Fitzgerald is.
I'm also very wary, Butchie, because coaches have been done dirty or attempted to have been done dirty.
Yeah.
As we've seen in our own backyard with Greg Gard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Where
That
within
was
the-
a despicable rat-like thing that one of his, players, ex-players, coaches tried to pull. The taping of a sacred place.
That's
I just want
Absolutely.
to ask everybody a quick round table here. What should Northwestern have done? If
Stuck
you-
to the 2 weeks.
if
Stop,
that's what
turn
they
off
agreed
Twitter.
upon.
Don't listen to all the noise and just stand there like this, like what? And then
what
challenge
if all this
the
is
media
true?
ninnies making a big deal. Well, they investigated and they decided
you.
that
They
he didn't know.
They did the investigation themselves.
What
prior
good is
to
a
us
$1 million
even knowing about it.
6-month
There was a
investigation?
6-month investigation
If
prior
you're
to
going
us.
to throw it out, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it was my university, I'd learn to stand there and go, listen, you can be mad all you want and write all your columns. Keep that energy up for a month, because I know you can't. Because the controversies now in sports, they bubble up and then they move on down the river so quick. You're like, oh yeah, whatever happened to that?
So you do a 6-month investigation, but you don't believe that investigation. Now all of a sudden it changes because of what's going on in the media. Like, you've already done a 6-month investigation with this, and your
Right.
conclusion was that you've done a tweet. Now, what was done and what we're hearing about, I'm not for. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the moving and blocking of the way the organization works. Like, you've done your
Yeah.
investigation. Now you're saying, our investigation wasn't good enough. You're making the university look bad.
You can't
because you
willingly
didn't do a
let-
good enough job.
But you can't willingly let your brand become toxic and keep this guy on after what's going to happen. Nobody would ever
Their
come there
brand
and
is
recruit there.
toxic.
So
'cause they got
they
rid
have
of
to quick. They
Fitzgerald.
have to move to make it to repair that as much as they can and as quickly as they can. And might take 30 years, but you can't do that.
It might take 30 years.
Well, they
says
don't win anyway. I'm
Armin
sorry.
with
They
a
won one game
breezy
in the Big
wave
Ten
of
the
his
last
hand
3.
like it's no big deal.
It is a big deal, but Zabe, but you're not gonna keep him on and let your brand become toxic for what? For Pat Fitzgerald's 2 wins a year or whatever he's been getting in the Big Ten the last 3 years?
Toxic to who? The media?
It doesn't matter. Public
or
recruits,
to
parents.
players you're trying to recruit.
They have parents too. They have friends too. They're in communities too. They're not looking for reasons. Most football
Northwestern's
players,
got a pretty shiny aura to it
not
as
in
a
football.
university.
They're not. People aren't looking for reasons to send great athletes to Northwestern for football.
But it's the Stanford of the Midwest. They've got this insanely nice practice facility. They're trying to upgrade Ryan Field. They
I
need
mean,
money for that.
they
That
just
is
killed
now
it.
deep in the weeds because of it. They're going to hire a new coach. The next coach does not want to be flying into this S storm. They're going to be out $50 million plus on dead coaching salaries. They basically shut their program down without
And
even
the
knowing
ass-
it.
And the assistants still are there.
well, that's
So
crazy.
you want to
For
talk
as
about
long as they
that's crazy.
until
Butch.
they can find other jobs, because
But-
they're going to scatter.
But
I can't
they're the
believe they
ones
are.
that know that they're the ones that for sure knew
Right.
about this. So you're trying to tell me that you got to clean this thing up, but you're not going to remove the people that first knew about it. So if I'm a parent, which I understand that if I'm a parent, the issue has not been resolved.
You also don't know what's happening at all the other universities, though. It's not like now parents can go, okay, well, now we know what the bad school is, so we'll just stay away from Northwestern.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, all these other pure schools in the SEC.
Exactly. It's not. It's
Where
so
nothing bad ever
unrealistic to
happens.
think that way. That's what ties into Zabe's point.
Yeah, even Kirby Smart had to admit this week, speeding by our players is a problem. We're going to have to address that because I guess
Yeah.
there was another kid that got busted for going fast and furious. Hell, Urban Meyer had more criminals per capita roster spot on his championship teams in Florida than just about any program. I'm not endorsing it. I'm not saying it's right, but
Correct.
Josh is right. There's got to be some perspective on this. None of this is clean. This is big money business. And now in the NIL era, schools like Northwestern were already going to be cycling uphill because they're not able to compete. This is a bad blow for their football program. That said, they're a conference rival. We have to quietly be restrained in our yes.
Yeah, but they're football they're not a football program that is used to legacy of sustained excellence. This is Northwestern we're talking about.
Have they beaten Wisconsin?
Their reputation is more important than wins and losses usually for them.
I know, but from a selfish provincial standpoint.
Sure, Wisconsin's been upset by them.
Happy this is happening to you'd be happy if it was happening in Minnesota, wouldn't you?
I always believe Wisconsin can win those games, so I don't need this to get wins, and that's the way I look at that.
This. It's not needing.
John's trying to say. I don't know what John's trying to say.
Ooh, what happened to John's audio?
John's gone.
You there?
We lost John.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time. I've been talking the whole time.
No one's heard you.
Interesting. No one heard you.
Well, what do you want? What do you got?
Yeah, Phil,
I said, who cares about the football program? I spent 13 years in the NFL, 5 years in college, 4 years in high school. I've never seen a whiff of anything like this. If this is true, you mean to tell me Pat Fitzgerald, the leader of the pack, over 4 years, he doesn't deserve any of this?
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve any of that. You're not listening. Yeah,
I asked, what should have been done?
That's true. That's what
you're knocking Northwestern. What should have been done?
Zabe says 2 weeks for this stuff.
2 weeks for that? What you read? 2 weeks for that stuff you read?
Come on.
Yes.
This is bad stuff.
But we don't know how true it is. These are allegations.
And the university did 6 months of investigation into that's what there was a reason 2 weeks agreed upon based on the university,
how earnest was that investigation?
So,
Butch, how earnest are these internal investigations?
No, I agree, but this is the universe. Before you go ahead and fire him right away, now you have to read how true is and it might be, and but you can't just all of a sudden turn in one day.
I understand.
Not knowing is not knowing an excuse.
The investigation
is not knowing.
Ignorance is bliss.
Good enough excuse.
It's definitely an excuse.
Duke lacrosse. Allegations are not proven facts. They're allegations they investigated. They found them to be murky and not super well supported, and they didn't think that their head coach had a direct hand or knowledge in it. They gave him 2 weeks because they felt like, well, we got to do something, and then they lacked the courage to stand on it, and now they've closed their football program.
I don't think
tough break there.
I don't think courage is the word. I'm sorry.
Well, they lack the fortitude to stand on their initial findings, Armin.
How about the fortitude to protect their student athletes? How about that courage?
So what happened?
Great point, Armin. Great point.
Come on,
you're implying the investigation was a sham.
I'm not implying anything.
Why did they change their mind?
I'm implying
Armin?
there's serious allegations.
Why did they change their mind?
No, because nobody wants to self-report violations ever.
We don't know why they changed their mind.
Little breaking news, by the way, guys. NFL Films has selected New York Jets to be on Hard Knocks. So there you go.
Yes.
Cameras are rolling.
Yes.
Cameras
there
are
we
rolling.
go.
I wanted to get that in before we jumped out of this.
All right.
That's must-watch television. Must-watch.
Argue amongst yourselves about this. Boys, have a good show. Kuhn, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Get that lift in early. It's leg day.
Get a nap this afternoon, right? Is that what you guys do? Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, nice 4-hour nap.
Josh, great job as always. Thanks for listening. Have a great Wednesday. We will see you tomorrow.